Okay, well, first I wanted to thank you for taking time out of your lunch to do this with me.
Anytime.
I wanted to go over the lesson that you had a week back, I think it was. I wanted to ask you how you think your lesson went.
I think it went pretty well. Usually how I give myself criteria on how well it's going is if they're paying attention, if I have eye contact, if they're stirring and they're trying to get out of their seats and they just are not paying attention, then I know it's time to close the lesson. But I think it went well. I think everybody was participating. The eye contact was good. I mean, yes, most of the children are nonverbal, but you can tell by the eye contact if they're using their props. Even if they're just sitting in their chair and they're looking at me, it's a successful lesson. Considering my children, chronologically, are 3 to 5-year-olds, because developmentally are anywhere from 9 months to 24 months with much data.
Absolutely, that's what I had written down also, that I think your strengths was you had an engaging lesson for the population of your students. I saw that your students were engaged for most of the time. You were able to differentiate for each student. Some of the students you showed them a visual and gave them the vocabulary word. Other students you asked them what the vocabulary word was, depended on the student, and also the way you had your staff set up throughout the classroom. I saw that you did that in order to help the students that needed more hand-over-hand help engage in the lesson. And no problem. And the strategies, like I said, I saw that you used visuals. The placement of the students, you had students that needed a little separation. They were a little bit more off to the side. And then I also saw, which was great, your teaching assistant helped you out with that, giving the child the fidget that needed that Play-Doh fidget, because he tended to act out, which I saw that he did that during the other circle time that I came in and observed. So it was great that she was able to think on her feet quick, and that it helped let him stay for the whole lesson and engage in the lesson. And then eventually he was able to hold the pumpkin visuals and play with the pumpkins, which was great. The engagement that you used, like I said, was amazing. I wish I could use that engagement in all my lessons as well. You knew your population of your students. You were able to sing songs that were simple enough for them to catch on to the vocabulary words. Some of the students were able to dance along. I saw some of them getting up out of their seats. Some of them were able to get the rhythm. Some of them tried using some of the words. And the visuals allowed them to engage in that lesson, even though they weren't able to verbalize the singing. And there was complete active student participation. Some of the students were active on their own. Some of them needed hand-over-hand help, but you were able to use that with your staff in there. I also recognized that you were able to talk to Miracle during that lesson. You had asked her to collect the fire trucks, and she said no to you. And then you were able to redirect it and say to her, no, excuse me. Now, I wanted to ask you, was there a reason that you gave Miracle that job?
Because I'd say out of the class, I know that she will be successful. And she needs less support than the other children. So that's why I picked her.
Do you think that in the future you'll be able to use other students?
Jason, on occasion, if he's having a good day, I can.
Okay.
But most of the other students, they need, a lot of staff support or a hand over hand.
Okay, so that's why you choose it depending on the student and the day if they're able to participate then. And I loved how you celebrated student success. I saw it throughout. Your lesson was about 13 minutes long, and I was able to see you celebrating so much of their success. Like the little girl that was sitting next to me, Abigail, was it Abigail with the braids?
Yes.
She was able to answer your question, fire truck, and you showed her the good work, and you guys cheered for her, and it was great to see that those little accomplishments you were able to appreciate them, and the kids were able to grasp so much from it. You can tell that they really feed off of the positivity. And I love how your class worked as a team. Like I said, Ryan with the fidgets, and then at the end when you had each staff member pick out a different song, you were able to incorporate them into the circle time. Even though you had planned it and planned the songs, they were able to engage in at the end, and they were always singing. I know you've had 2 of your staff members here since last year. Well, Annie's been here forever, but like your new staff member was able to sing along with you, and that's great to see as a team leader that you're able to do that.
Well, this year I'm very fortunate. In years past, it wasn't always that way.
Yeah.
I mean, because not only will they not sing, they'll have a conversation. It's quite loud. You try to bring them back to the group and remind them to sing, and it doesn't happen. But this year, I am blessed.
So this year you haven't had to do that. That's
No.
what I was gonna ask you if you have. Well, I mean, you have your leadership role, but it doesn't. You don't have to come forth as strong this year.
In certain areas.
Okay. And then, like I said, your interactions with the students were friendly. You were able to introduce new vocabulary words very easily with the kids using the visuals. When your students were attending and singing, you became very excited, and it was great for me to witness. It was a great 13 minutes that I was able to experience.
Oh, thank
I
you.
really
Thank you
appreciated
so
it.
much.
Also, I wanted to talk about opportunities for improvement. Your lesson went very well, but I noticed that there were some areas that could improve on, and I was wondering if you had reflected upon the lesson and thought of any areas.
I believe maybe with the TAs, I mean, just spoken about this
Mhm.
before, maybe I should have had certain strategies that I wanted them to follow through
Okay.
with certain behavior problems that happened during the circle time. I mean, on the whole, that was a pretty good circle time.
No, I agree.
But I think maybe possibly that I could, what would you suggest?
Well, going off of what you said, so basically you would meet with them after the kids leave at 2:30, and then you could discuss like simple little strategies that they can put in place. That's great, because then you're reflecting on yourself with me, and then you're also reflecting with your TAs, which allows them to get involved. I like that. I was thinking how you can improve their attending. I saw that a lot of them were attending, and it was great, but then I've also seen in previous lessons that sometimes they're not fully engaged, and it's hard with our student population because depending on the day, if they were able to get enough sleep, if they're not
Yes.
feeling well, you might be pulling out every trick in the book, and it just
Yes.
might not work for them that
Right.
day. But I was thinking a lot of the teachers here use the storyboards, and I know you used storyboards before, so I was thinking maybe that's a way to get them involved. Like when you do the 5 little pumpkins, I have like a felt board that I think you have here too, and if you put up the pumpkins, if Miracle is one of your higher students, you can have her go and count the pumpkins first, or you can do hand over hand with all the students and count the pumpkins.
Okay, very nice idea.
So that's something that you can see and we can discuss if
Okay.
you want to go and observe other teachers doing it, but I know you have a bunch of storyboards. Also, I was thinking how you can incorporate more critical thinking for our students. I know you're not going to be able to flat out ask them a question sometimes. It's more along the lines of how to get them actively participating in it. So like I said, if you have Miracle going counting, or if you have them pick out the different, like if you have the fire truck and the police car, you can do colors with them, something simple like that, but that's enough to get them cognitively thinking.
Right.
And do you feel that you were successful in meeting all the objectives in your lesson?
On the whole, yes, I do.
Okay.
I do.
Can you elaborate on that?
My main goal is because most of the children are autistic. Yes, I do have some Down syndrome children, and yes, they are very social.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, my main focus, yes, it is language and following directions, et cetera. But my main focus during circle time is to have some type of peer engagement, simple interaction, whether it's taking the spider and giving it to somebody, or you hand out the pumpkins, or just sitting down in your chair for like 2 or 3 minutes and paying attention. That's my one focus. My other focus is to increase language skills, and that would be receptively and expressively. The other thing I also would do is increasing their attention span. Again, I'm going back to that because some of them, their attention span is so, I mean, if I get a minute to 2 minutes of good focusing, I think I've had a very, very good day, very good day.
And I saw that you were able to do that. You had them socialize with one another in the beginning when you sang the good morning song. Some students were able to hand the spider to their peer next to them on their own. Others needed the help. And you were able to get them engaged. I think a lot of it has to do with your animation, how active you are, and how you use the different songs. So I think it was great.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you had wanted to discuss, or any questions that you have?
No, I don't. Well, what were your observations of my TAs?
Of your TAs, like I said, I thought that they were very actively engaged. And since I used to be a sub, I've been in classrooms where the TAs just sit back and let the teacher sing all the songs. I mean, that's happened to me. And you have to remind them, oh, you need to sing the song with us.
Right.
You need to make sure this child's not turned around in his chair. Your TAs were on top of it. Ryan was able to get the fidget for that little boy before he started acting up. There were, Annie was right behind a little boy that needed extra help. So it was great to see that they were there, and they were also saying, and you had one TA that was really sick that day, I remember, and she was still actively engaged. So the fact that you're able to present yourself in a way that makes your TAs want to help and want to sing along with the kids, it shows a lot for you as a teacher and for your whole class as a team.
Well, thank you. Just because, I mean, and like I said, I've been very blessed this year with this team, but in past years it's been. But I mean, that is one thing that I feel, I mean, and even after 30 years, I could plan to, you know, I need to improve on is maybe getting them a little more actively engaged. And sometimes they're great about it and they really want to participate. But other times, you know, you just have one negative person and it just
Of
trickles
course.
down.
Well, you know what the thing is, I mean, this is only my third year, but every year you have such a different group of students coming in. You always need to have different, like you have the same songs, but sometimes you need to incorporate a little more, a little less. That's why, like, I'm always adding in extra things into my circle time. Just even if you have it,
Right.
if one day you see that your kids are really on task that day, maybe
Right.
you can introduce that song. If you realize, oh no, they can't do that day, then you just do the same songs that they've been working on that they know.
Right.
So just honestly, especially with our population, you have to take it day by day depending on the kids. So sometimes you might have that lesson plan written up, but it might be completely different to what you're actually going to be doing that day.
Which so you always have your backup plan.
Exactly.
A song that you know is really gonna work. Very calming song. In all these years, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star has worked wonders. I must.
Well, I saw how you did the comic songs. You did the Happy and You Know It, and you did row your boat, and it seemed to calm down the kids and it able to allow for them to transition to their next routine. Yeah, transitioning is good.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yes. In this population, absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate your help.
Well, anytime, Marissa.
Thank you.
Okay.